The communications room on Deep Space Station, Omega-7 hummed with quiet energy as Kira Thorne adjusted her headset for the third time that hour. The endless void of space stretched beyond the station's windows, dotted with distant stars that had watched over countless civilizations rise and fall. Kira had been monitoring the deep space channels for 2 years now, and most days brought nothing more exciting than routine cargo manifests and weather reports from distant colonies. Today felt different. A faint signal had been tickling the edge of her detection equipment for the past hour. It was weak, almost lost in the background noise of cosmic radiation, but there was something about its pattern that made Kira's trained ear perk up. She had heard thousands of transmissions during her time at the station from human vessels, alien traders, and automated beacons. This signal had a rhythm that seemed almost desperate. "Computer, isolate frequency 774 and boost the signal strength," Kira commanded, her fingers dancing across the control panel. The static cleared slightly, revealing what sounded like a structured transmission. Not random noise, but definitely communication. Commander Blake Morrison entered the communications center just as Kira managed to clean up the signal enough to make out distinct patterns. Blake was a veteran of 3 different conflicts and had the kind of weathered face that came from making hard decisions in the depths of space. He noticed the intense concentration on Kira's face immediately. "What do you have, Thorne?" Blake asked, moving to stand behind her workstation. "Unknown transmission, sir? It's heavily encrypted and the signal is very weak, but I think it might be a distress call." Kira's fingers continued working as she spoke, running the signal through various decryption protocols. Blake frowned. "From who? We don't have any human vessels in that sector." "That's just it, sir. I don't think this is human." The words hung in the air between them. First contact protocols were clear but rarely used. Most alien species that humanity had encountered were either hostile raiders or distant traders who preferred to keep their communications brief and businesslike. A distress call from an unknown species was something entirely different. "Can you break the encryption?" Blake asked. "Working on it now, sir." "The patterns are unlike anything in our database, but there are some mathematical constants that seem universal." "Give me another hour." Blake nodded and settled into a nearby chair. "I'll wait." Kira worked in focused silence, her years of training taking over as she systematically tried different approaches to crack the alien code. The signal continued to repeat every few minutes, each transmission identical to the last. Whatever was sending it was either automated or the sender was very patient. After 47 minutes, the breakthrough came. The encryption wasn't meant to keep others out, Kira realized. It was designed to compress a large amount of information into a small signal that could travel vast distances. Once she understood that principle, the rest fell into place like puzzle pieces finding their homes. "Commander, I've got it." The decoded message that appeared on Kira's screen made both humans freeze. The text was rough, clearly translated by some kind of universal language program, but the meaning was crystal clear. "This is Merchant Vessel Gentle Current. We are under attack by vessels marked with red symbols. Our defensive systems are failing. We carry no weapons and mean no harm to any species. We are peaceful traders of the Quillen people. We have heard stories of the human warriors who help those in need. Please, if any human vessels receive this message, we request your aid. Our coordinates follow?" Blake leaned forward, his expression grave. "How far?" Kira's fingers flew over her console. 3 systems away, sir. The Kepler Nebula region." "That's outside our patrol zone." Blake stood and began pacing. "And those coordinates ... That's right in the middle of pirate territory. Sir, they specifically asked for human help. I noticed that." Blake stopped pacing and turned to face Kira. "They mentioned stories about human warriors. What stories?" Kira shrugged. "I don't know, sir. But if they're peaceful traders and they're being attacked by pirates..." Blake was quiet for a long moment, staring at the decoded message on the screen. The signal continued to repeat, growing slightly weaker with each transmission. Somewhere out there, alien beings were fighting for their lives and had specifically called for human help. The problem was that Omega-7 was a monitoring station, not a combat vessel. They had defensive weapons, but nothing that could take on a pirate fleet. Sir, Kira said quietly, there's something else. According to the signal analysis, this transmission is at least 6 hours old. It's been traveling through space that long to reach us. Blake's jaw tightened. 6 hours. He turned and walked to the main communications console. Kira, I need you to send a message on the emergency military frequency. Yes, sir. What message? Blake's fingers hovered over the activation switch. For Protocol 7, it was a communication channel that hadn't been used in his memory, designed for situations where immediate military response was required regardless of location or jurisdiction. Using it would send an alert to every human. Military vessel within a 50 light-year radius. Send this. Emergency Protocol 7 activation. Unknown alien species under pirate attack in Kepler Nebula region. Species specifically requested human military assistance. All available units respond immediately. Kira's eyes widened. Sir, that will bring every ship in the sector. I know. Blake pressed the activation switch. Send it. The message went out on quantum channels that could reach distant ships almost instantaneously. For a moment, both humans sat in silence, wondering if they had just started something much larger than a simple rescue mission. The response came faster than either of them expected. Within minutes, acknowledgments began flooding in from across human space. Military vessels, patrol ships, even merchant marines were confirming receipt and changing course toward the Kepler Nebula. Sir, Kira said, her voice filled with amazement. I'm reading 17 vessels already en route. No, wait, ... 2A3, sir, they're coming from everywhere. Blake nodded grimly. Signal the Quillans back. Tell them help is coming. What? If we're too late? Kira asked. Blake looked out at the stars again, thinking about alien traders who had heard stories about humans and called for help in their darkest hour. Then whoever attacked them is going to learn why those stories exist. As Kira sent the response, neither human could have imagined the chain of events they had just set in motion. The Quillan distress call had done more than request help. It had awakened something in human space that had been sleeping for years. The galaxy was about to remember why certain species whispered about humans in the dark corners of space stations and trading posts. The rescue fleet was already gathering, and their destination was a small region of space where pirates thought they were safe. Captain Rex Donovan had been running cargo between the outer colonies for 15 years, and in all that time he had never seen anything like what his sensors were showing him now. The debris field stretched for thousands of kilometers, twisted metal and scattered components that had once been spacecraft drifting silently through the void. This is a massacre, he muttered to himself. Adjusting the controls of his merchant vessel, the Iron Horse, he had received the Protocol 7 alert like every other human ship in the region, but his cargo hauler was 3 days out from the coordinates. By the time he arrived, whatever had happened here was long over. The debris patterns told a story that made Rex's stomach turn. The destroyed ships had been civilian vessels, their hull designs clearly meant for cargo and passenger transport rather than combat. Whoever had attacked them had done so with overwhelming force and no mercy. Computer, scan for life signs, Rex commanded. Scanning, multiple small objects detected. One object shows possible life signs. Rex's heart jumped. Set course for that object immediately. The Iron Horse moved carefully through the debris field, Rex's experienced hands guiding the ship around the larger pieces of wreckage. What he found made him immediately understand why the Protocol 7 alert had been sent. Floating in the darkness was a small escape pod, its design completely unlike anything in human databases. The metal had a flowing, organic quality that seemed to shift color slightly as his ship's lights hit it. But more importantly, the pod was sending out a weak distress beacon. Computer, prepare the docking bay for emergency rescue. And activate the medical bay. Rex had pulled survivors from destroyed ships before, but those had always been humans. As his ship's mechanical arms carefully retrieved the alien escape pod, he found himself wondering what he was about to find inside. The pod was brought into the docking bay, and Rex quickly sealed the area and filled it with breathable atmosphere. The pod's design was elegant in a way that human engineering rarely achieved, all curves and flowing lines. A section of the curved wall began to glow and then dissolved away, revealing the being inside. Rex had seen pictures of various alien species in the databases, but meeting one face-to-face was entirely different. The creature inside the pod was roughly humanoid but smaller, with pale blue skin that seemed to shimmer slightly. Its face was narrow and elongated, with large eyes that held an intelligence Rex recognized immediately. This was definitely a person, not just another species. The alien was injured, that much was obvious. Strange, dark fluid stained its clothing, and one of its arms hung at an odd angle. But it was conscious, and those large eyes fixed on Rex with a mixture of hope and fear. "Please," the alien said in heavily accented but understandable universal. "Standard, are you human?" "Yes," Rex replied, moving slowly to avoid frightening the injured being. "I'm Captain Rex Donovan. You're safe now." The alien's eyes filled with what Rex could only describe as relief. "I am Nixal of the Quillen people. My ship ... my family ... "I know," Rex said gently, helping Nixal out of the pod. "I saw the debris field. I'm sorry." As Rex helped the injured alien to the medical bay, Nixal spoke in broken phrases about the attack. Pirates with red markings on their ships had appeared without warning. The Quillen convoy had tried to surrender, but the attackers had shown no interest in capture or ransom. They had simply destroyed every ship. "Why did you call for humans specifically?" Rex asked as he used the medical bay's automated systems to tend to Nixal's injuries. Nixal looked at him with those large, expressive eyes. "You do not know? All across the galaxy there are stories about your people." "What kind of stories?" "Stories of the only species that comes when others call for help. Stories of humans who will fight battles that are not their own, protect people they have never met." Nixal winced as the medical scanner worked on his broken arm. "But also stories of human anger when innocents are harmed." Rex frowned. "I don't understand. My people are empaths," Nixal explained. "We feel the emotions of others. In the trading stations in the far colonies we have met humans before. Your emotional pattern is unique among all species we have encountered." "How so?" "Most species feel protective of their own kind, sometimes their allies, but humans ... Nixal paused, searching for the right words. "Humans feel protective of all life. When you see suffering, you respond as if it were your own family being hurt. This is why we called for you." Rex absorbed this information as he continued treating Nixal's wounds. He had never thought of humans as particularly special, but listening to this alien's perspective made him consider things differently. "The pirates who attacked you," Rex said, "do you know who they were?" "The Crimson Fleet," Nixal replied with obvious fear. "They rule this region of space through terror. No one stands against them because they are too powerful, too cruel. Well, they just made a very big mistake." Before Nixal could ask what he meant, Rex's proximity alarms began sounding. Ships were dropping out of hyperspace all around them, and Rex's sensors showed energy signatures he recognized. "Computer, identify the incoming vessels." 27. Ships detected, all transmitting human identification codes. Vessel types include military cruisers, patrol ships, merchant marines, mining vessels, and civilian transports. Rex whistled low. "Nixal, you need to see this." He helped the injured alien to the bridge, where the main screen showed the tactical display. Ships continued to arrive, dropping out of hyperspace in flashes of light that lit up the darkness. Military vessels arrived alongside converted cargo haulers and even luxury passenger ships, all bristling with hastily mounted weapons. "I do not understand," Nixal said, staring at the display. "This is not a human system. Why are so many of your ships here?" "Because you called for help," Rex replied simply. More ships continued to arrive. Rex's communication system was flooded with messages as the growing fleet organized itself. He listened in amazement as captains who had never met before coordinated their approach, sharing tactical information and resources. Captain Donovan, came a voice over the comm system. This is Commander Williams aboard the military cruiser Defiant. Do you have survivors? Affirmative, Commander. One Quillen survivor aboard my vessel. Understood. Please proceed to safe distance. We're about to begin hunting operations. Nixal looked confused. Hunting operations? Rex activated his long-range sensors and pointed to a display showing a massive asteroid field several million kilometers away. That's where the pirates are hiding. And now they're surrounded, but there are so many of them. The Crimson Fleet has over 100 ships. Rex looked at the growing human fleet on his display, then at the alien who had thought to call humans for help. Nixal, you said your people can feel emotions, right? Yes. What do you feel from us right now? Nixal closed his large eyes and concentrated. When he opened them again, there was wonder in his expression. I feel ... determination, cold, focused determination, and underneath ... He paused, looking frightened. Underneath I feel anger. More anger than I have ever sensed from any species. That's because someone hurt innocent people, Rex said quietly, and humans don't forget that kind of thing. As if to emphasize his words, a new transmission came over the fleet-wide channel. The voice was calm, professional, but there was something underneath it that made Rex shiver despite himself. All ships, this is Admiral Stone aboard the Retribution. We have confirmed the location of the Crimson Fleet base. They are trapped in the Omega asteroid field with no escape routes. As of this moment, we are beginning systematic elimination of all hostile forces. No quarter will be given. Nixal looked at Rex with something approaching awe. Your species? You really come when called. Every time, Rex confirmed, watching as the human fleet began to move toward the asteroid field, like a pack of hunting wolves. And we don't stop until it's finished. Warlord Kazakh Vorn stood in the command center of his flagship, the Blood Tide, reviewing the reports from his latest raid with satisfaction. The attack on the Quillen convoy had gone exactly as planned. The alien traders had been completely helpless against his fleet's superior firepower, and their cargo holds had yielded enough valuable materials to keep his crews happy for months. The Crimson Fleet had ruled this region of space for over a decade, and Vorn had built his reputation on swift, brutal attacks that left no survivors to identify his ships. The asteroid field where his base was hidden provided perfect cover, and the complex maze of rocks made it nearly impossible for any pursuing force to mount an effective attack. Sir, called Lieutenant Grix from the communications station, we're receiving some unusual transmissions. Vorn turned from the tactical display. What kind of transmissions? Military channels, sir, heavily encrypted? But our intelligence systems have picked up some fragments. From who? That's the strange part, sir. They appear to be human. Vorn laughed, a harsh sound that echoed through the command center. Humans? In this sector? Impossible. The nearest human colony is weeks away. Sir, the transmission analysis suggests multiple ships, at least 20 vessels. The laughter died on Vorn's lips. Show me. The main display shifted to show long-range sensor data. At first, there was nothing unusual, just the normal background noise of space traffic. But as Grix enhanced the readings, energy signatures began to appear at the edge of their detection range. Sir, Grix said, his voice growing nervous, I'm reading 37 distinct energy signatures now, all moving toward our position. Vorn felt the first cold touch of concern. Ship types? Mixed, sir? Some appear to be military vessels, but others. I'm reading cargo haulers, mining ships, even passenger transports, so they all have weapons. Impossible. Why would humans come here? We haven't attacked any human. Vessels. Another officer, Commander Drake, approached from the intelligence station. Sir, we've been monitoring communications. It appears the Quillen vessel managed to send a distress call before we destroyed it. So, who would respond to an alien distress call? Apparently, sir, humans would. Vorn stared at the growing collection of energy signatures on his screen. His intelligence on human military capabilities was limited, but he knew they were considered a minor power in this region of space. Their ships were well built, but nothing special, and their military doctrine was supposedly defensive in nature. "How many ships now?" he asked. 53, sir. And more arriving every few minutes. Dr. Elena Vasquez worked quickly in the temporary medical bay aboard the human hospital ship, Mercy. 3 more Quillen survivors had been found floating in damaged escape pods, and each one told the same story of sudden, overwhelming attack by the Crimson Fleet pirates. What fascinated Elena, beyond her medical duties, was the consistent story she was hearing from the survivors about why they had called for human help. As a xenobiologist, she had studied dozens of alien species, but the Quillens were proving to be particularly interesting. "The empathic abilities you mentioned," she said to the Quillen she was treating, an elderly being named Terval. "Can you explain how they work?" Terval winced as Elena treated a burn on his arm, but his large eyes remained focused on her face. "We feel the emotional currents of other beings. It is not precise, but we sense the general nature of their feelings." "And you said humans feel different from other species?" "Very different. Most species we have encountered feel protective emotions only for their own kind, perhaps their allies, but humans... Terval paused, considering his words carefully. "Humans seem to feel protective of all life. When you see suffering, your emotional response is as strong as if your own family were being hurt." Elena nodded, making notes on her tablet. "Is that why your people specifically called for human help?" "Partly, but there is something else." Terval's expression grew serious. "We have encountered humans before, in trading stations and border colonies. Your emotional patterns are unique in another way." "How so?" "Most species, when they become angry, their emotions become chaotic, unfocused, but humans... When humans become truly angry, especially when protecting others, your emotions become cold and focused. It is... terrifying." Before Elena could respond, Lieutenant Maya Okafor entered the medical bay. The young tactical officer looked grim as she approached Elena's station. "Doctor, I need to speak with the Quillen survivors about the attack. We're coordinating our response and need tactical information." Elena nodded and introduced Maya to Terval. The old Quillen listened carefully as Maya explained what the human fleet was planning. "You must understand," Terval said when Maya finished. "The Crimson Fleet is not a small group of raiders. They have over 100 ships and have controlled this region for many years. Their base in the asteroid field is heavily fortified." Maya smiled, and there was something in that expression that made both the doctor and the alien pause. "Sir, with respect, I don't think you understand what you've set in motion by calling for human help." "What do you mean?" "We've identified the ships responding to your distress call. Military vessels, yes, but also converted cargo haulers, mining ships with industrial equipment turned into weapons, even passenger liners with hastily mounted gun systems. These aren't just military personnel responding to orders. These are ordinary humans who heard that innocent people were being attacked, and they dropped everything to come help." Terval's eyes widened. "But why? We are not your allies. We are not even the same species." "That doesn't matter to humans," Maya replied. "Simply, you called for help, so we came." Elena watched the exchange with growing fascination. She was beginning to understand why the Quillens had specifically called for human assistance, and why other species across the galaxy apparently told stories about human warriors. "Lieutenant," Elena said, "what's the current tactical situation?" Maya activated her portable display unit, showing a 3-dimensional representation of the asteroid field where the Crimson Fleet was hiding. "We have them completely surrounded. 87 human vessels are now in position, with more arriving hourly. The pirates are trapped in the asteroid field with no escape routes." 87 ships?" Terval asked in amazement. "And growing. Every human vessel within 3 days' travel is converging on this location." Maya's expression grew cold. "The Crimson Fleet thought they were safe in their asteroid fortress. They're about to learn that there is no place in the galaxy safe enough to hide from human justice." Back on the Blood Tide, Warlord Vorn was beginning to understand that he had made a terrible mistake. The number of human ships surrounding his position had grown to over 80, and his intelligence officers were reporting that more were arriving every hour. "Sir," Commander Drake reported, "we're receiving a transmission on all frequencies." "Put it through?" The voice that came through the speakers was calm and professional, but there was something underneath it that made Vorn's crew shift nervously. "This is Admiral Marcus Stone of the Human Defense Fleet. You have attacked civilian vessels. Under our protection, you have 30 minutes to surrender unconditionally and submit to judgment for your crimes. If you refuse, we will demonstrate why the galaxy whispers our name." The transmission ended, leaving the command center in silence. "Sir," Grix said quietly, "what are your orders?" Vorn looked at the tactical display showing the human ships surrounding his position. He had built his reputation on never backing down from a fight, and his crews expected him to maintain that reputation. But something about the human transmission chilled him to the bone. "Sir?" Grix prompted again. Vorn squared his shoulders and activated the fleet-wide communications. "All ships, prepare for battle. We are the Crimson Fleet, and we bow to no one. These humans want to fight. We'll give them one they'll never forget." As his crews prepared for battle, Vorn tried to ignore the voice in the back of his mind that whispered he had just made the last mistake of his life. Admiral Marcus Stone stood on the bridge of the Retribution, watching the tactical display that showed the Crimson Fleet's position within the asteroid field. 28 years of military service had taught him that the most dangerous enemies were often the ones who underestimated what they were facing. The pirates had chosen to fight rather than surrender. Stone had expected as much. Pirates who built their reputation on terrorizing civilians rarely had the wisdom to recognize when they were outmatched. "Admiral," reported Commander Lisa Park from the tactical station, "all human vessels are in position. We have complete containment of the asteroid field." "Very good. Signal all ships. Operation Wolfpack is now active. No pirate vessel is to escape this field." Operation Wolfpack was not a standard military engagement. It was a hunting strategy that humans had developed over centuries of dealing with pirates and raiders who thought they could hide in asteroid fields or nebulas. Rather than charging in with overwhelming force, human ships would work in small coordinated groups to systematically eliminate their targets. Jace Riley piloted his converted mining ship, the Rockbreaker, through the outer edges of the asteroid field. His vessel had once been used to extract valuable minerals from asteroids, but when the Protocol 7 alert had reached him, Jace had spent 2 days converting his industrial equipment into weapon systems. The Rockbreaker's mining lasers could cut through solid rock, which meant they could slice through pirate ship hulls like paper. The magnetic grappling systems designed to move asteroids could disable enemy vessels by latching onto their hulls. Even the rock-crushing equipment had been modified into projectile weapons. "Pack Leader 7 to all units," came the voice of Captain Torres through Jace's communications system. 2 pirate vessels detected moving through Sector 4 Alpha. "Rockbreaker and Stellar Wind, your closest, begin intercept." "Copy that, Pack Leader. Rockbreaker moving to intercept." Jace smiled grimly as he adjusted his course. The Crimson Fleet ships were trying to use the asteroids as cover, thinking they could pick off human vessels one by one. They had no idea that humans had been hunting in asteroid fields for longer than most species had been traveling in space. The first pirate ship Jace encountered was a medium-sized raider trying to hide behind a large asteroid. The pirate captain probably thought he was being clever, waiting to ambush any human ship that came too close. Jace activated his mining scanners, equipment designed to see through solid rock to find valuable minerals inside asteroids. The scanners easily penetrated the asteroid and revealed the exact position of the hiding pirate ship. "Stellar Wind, this is Rockbreaker. Target is hiding behind asteroid 779. I'm going to flush him out. Copy that, Rockbreaker. Standing by." Jace activated his industrial mining laser and began cutting into the asteroid. Within minutes, he had carved away enough rock to expose the pirate ship hiding behind it. The enemy vessel, suddenly exposed, tried to flee but found itself facing the Stellar Wind, a converted cargo hauler bristling with improvised weapons. The fight was over in seconds. On the blood tide, Warlord Vorn watched in growing horror as his ships began disappearing from the tactical display one by one. The humans weren't attacking his fortress directly. Instead, they were hunting down every single one of his vessels with methodical precision. "Sir," reported Commander Drake, "we've lost contact with 12 ships in the past hour." "How? How are they finding our ships?" "Unknown, sir. Our vessels are using the asteroids for cover just as we planned, but somehow the humans are detecting them anyway." Lieutenant Grix looked up from his sensor station with fear in his eyes. "Sir, I think I know how they're doing it. I'm detecting scanning patterns unlike anything in our databases. The humans appear to have equipment that can see through solid rock." Vorn stared at him. "That's impossible." "Sir, these aren't military ships. Many of them appear to be converted. Civilian vessels, mining ships, cargo haulers, even passenger transports. They're using industrial equipment as weapons." The implications hit Vorn like a physical blow. The humans hadn't just sent their military, they had sent everyone. Ordinary civilians had converted their ships into weapons and come to hunt down the Crimson Fleet. "Sir," Drake reported, "Captain Nexus of the Razorback is requesting permission to break through the human lines and escape. Denied, we stay and fight." "Sir, with respect, we're being systematically eliminated. At this rate, we'll lose half our fleet before dawn." Vorn wanted to argue, but the tactical display told a story he couldn't ignore. The human ships were working in perfect coordination, herding his vessels into kill zones where multiple human ships could converge on single targets. It was like watching predators hunt prey. Dr. Elena Vasquez monitored the battle from the medical ship Mercy, but her attention was focused on the Quillan survivors she was treating. Their empathic abilities were giving her unique insights into what was happening. "Doctor," said Terval, the elderly Quillan she had spoken with earlier, "the emotional patterns I am sensing from your fleet are ... unusual." "How so?" "There is no bloodlust, no battle fury. Your people are fighting with the same emotional state I have seen in human engineers solving technical problems. Cold, methodical, determined." Elena nodded, understanding what he meant. "This isn't a battle for us. It's a job that needs to be done. That is what makes it terrifying," Terval replied. "We can sense the emotions of the pirates as well. They are beginning to understand that they are not fighting an enemy army. They are being hunted by an entire species." Another Quillan survivor, a younger being named Kixal, spoke up from the nearby medical bed. "Doctor, may I ask you something?" "Of course. Why do your people care what happens to us? We are strangers to you. We have nothing to offer in return for your help." Elena paused her medical work and looked at the injured alien. "Because someone hurt you and you asked for help. That's all humans need to know. But the cost, your people are risking their lives for us. Risk is part of helping others. We accepted that when we decided to be the kind of species that answers distress calls." Back in the asteroid field, Admiral Stone received reports from his hunting groups with grim satisfaction. The systematic elimination of the Crimson Fleet was proceeding exactly as planned. The pirates were trapped, confused, and being picked apart piece by piece. "Admiral," reported Commander Park, "Pack Leader 3 reports successful elimination of 2 more pirate vessels. Pack Leader 5 has disabled a 3rd and is taking survivors prisoner." "Excellent. What's our current count?" 17 pirate vessels eliminated, 3 captured. "Intelligence estimates the Crimson Fleet started with approximately 112 ships." Stone nodded. "Signal all pack leaders. Maintain hunting pattern. No pirate ship leaves this field." A new voice came over the communications system. "Admiral Stone, this is Captain Martinez aboard the converted liner Star Princess. We've located what appears to be the main pirate base, built into a large asteroid. Heavy fortifications, multiple weapon emplacements. Good work, Captain. Maintain observation but do not engage. We'll deal with their fortress after we've eliminated their mobile forces." Stone turned to Commander Park. "How many human ships do we have in the field now?" 103, sir." More arriving every hour. Stone allowed himself a small smile. The Crimson Fleet had thought their numbers and fortified position would protect them. They were learning that when humans decided something needed to be done, numbers became irrelevant on the blood tide. Warlord Vorn finally understood what Admiral Stone had meant about the galaxy whispering humanity's name. The humans weren't just fighting to win. They were fighting to make sure this never happened again. "Sir," Commander Drake said quietly, "perhaps we should consider surrender." Vorn looked at the tactical display showing the steady destruction of his fleet. "Open a channel to all ships. Prepare for our final assault." "Sir, if we're going to die here, we'll take as many humans with us as possible." As the remaining Crimson Fleet ships prepared for their desperate final attack, none of them realized that the humans had been expecting exactly this response. The real battle was about to begin. The final assault of the Crimson Fleet lasted exactly 14 minutes. Admiral Stone watched from the bridge of the Retribution as the remaining pirate ships emerged from their hiding places in the asteroid field, abandoning all pretense of stealth for a desperate charge at the human lines. Warlord Vorn had clearly decided that if his fleet was going to be destroyed, he would try to take as many humans with him as possible. It was exactly what Stone had expected. Pirates who built their reputation on terrorizing civilians always revealed their true nature when cornered. The desperate charge was brave in its own way, but it was also tactically useless against an enemy that had been preparing for exactly this moment. "All ships," Stone broadcast on the fleet-wide channel, "execute Formation Phoenix. No pirate vessel passes our lines." Formation Phoenix was a defensive pattern that allowed human ships to create overlapping fields of fire while protecting each other from enemy attack. As the Crimson Fleet ships charged forward, they found themselves flying into a carefully constructed trap that turned their own momentum against them. Jace Riley, still piloting his converted mining ship Rockbreaker, found himself facing 3 pirate vessels that had broken through the outer perimeter. His industrial-grade equipment designed to break apart asteroids made short work of the enemy ships. The mining lasers that could cut through solid rock sliced through pirate armor like it was made of paper. "Pack Leader 7 to all units," came Captain Torres's voice over the communications system. "The enemy flagship is making a run for the outer perimeter. All available ships converge on target." Jace adjusted his course to join the hunt for Vorn's flagship. The blood tide was larger and more heavily armed than the other pirate vessels, but it was still just one ship against dozens of human hunters. The end came swiftly. Surrounded by human vessels and with nowhere to run, the blood tide's weapons were systematically disabled by precise fire from the converted civilian ships. When Warlord Vorn finally tried to surrender, it was too late. His ship's life support had been damaged in the fighting, and the crew was forced to abandon ship. "Admiral Stone to all ships," came the broadcast that marked the end of the battle. "Cease fire. The Crimson Fleet has been eliminated. Begin search and rescue operations for any survivors." Dr. Elena Vasquez watched the aftermath of the battle. From the medical bay of the Mercy, the contrast between the methodical destruction she had witnessed and the immediate shift to rescue operations was striking. The same humans who had systematically hunted down the pirate fleet were now working to save the lives of any survivors. Chief Talver, the senior surviving Quillen who had been rescued from the debris field, stood beside her at the observation window. His large eyes took in the scene of human ships carefully searching through the wreckage for survivors. "Your people," he said in his careful universal standard, "they are remarkable." "How so?" "We felt their emotions during the battle. Cold determination, absolute focus on eliminating the threat. But now—" He paused, his empathic abilities allowing him to sense the emotional state of the human crews. "Now they feel only compassion for the wounded and captured." Elena nodded. "We don't fight because we enjoy violence. We fight because sometimes violence is the only way to protect innocent life." "The pirates who survived," Talver asked, "what will happen to them?" "They'll be turned over to the proper authorities and tried for their crimes. The ones who were just following orders might get a chance to make things right." The leaders quotes Elena's expression hardened. The leaders who ordered attacks on civilians won't be so fortunate. 3 days later, Captain Ana Torres arrived aboard the diplomatic vessel Harmony. The sleek ship carried representatives from the Galactic Council, who had come to investigate what they were calling the excessive human response to a minor pirate incident. The Council representatives, a mix of different alien species, gathered. In the main conference room aboard the Mercy, they seemed nervous as they faced the assembled human officers and Quillan survivors. "Captain Torres," said Councillor Vextai, a tall reptilian being who served as the Council's military advisor, "the Galactic Council is concerned about the scope of the human response to this incident." Over 100 human vessels responded. "To a simple pirate attack, this seems disproportionate." Captain Torres, a veteran diplomat who had dealt with galactic politics for over a decade, kept her expression neutral. "Councillor, peaceful civilians were under attack and specifically requested human assistance. How is responding to that request? Excessive? The Crimson Fleet, while criminal, was a recognized power in this region. Their complete elimination has created a power vacuum that could destabilize trade routes." Chief Talver, who had been listening silently, stood up slowly. Despite his injuries, the elderly Quillan carried himself with dignity as he faced the Council representatives. "Honored councillors," he said, his voice carrying clearly through the translator system, "with respect, you are not the ones being murdered." Councillor Vextai's scaled features showed irritation. "We understand your grief, but the law requires proportional response to threats. The human fleet eliminated over 100 pirate vessels. Surely negotiation or limited military action would have been sufficient." "Sufficient for what?" Talver asked. "Sufficient to allow the pirates to attack other innocent traders in a few months? Sufficient to let them know that killing civilians has no real consequences?" Another council member, a floating gas being named Zephyr, spoke up. "The Galactic Council maintains order through measured responses and diplomatic solutions. Complete military destruction sets a dangerous precedent." Dr. Vasquez, who had been treating Quillan survivors for days, could no longer remain silent. "Councillor Zephyr, did your diplomatic solutions help when the Crimson Fleet was murdering civilians?" "That is not the point, Doctor. The point is that humans responded with overwhelming force to what was essentially a local criminal matter." Chief Talver stepped forward, his empathic abilities allowing him to sense the emotions in the room. "Councillors, you ask why we called for humans specifically. You wonder why we did not call for council peacekeepers or negotiate with the pirates ourselves." "Yes," Vextai replied. "That would have been the proper procedure, because," Talver said simply, "you would not have come." The silence that followed was uncomfortable for everyone except the Quillans and humans in the room. "The Galactic Council. Response to threats against major trade routes or council member species," Talver continued. "We are neither. We are simply traders trying to make a living in a dangerous galaxy. When the pirates attacked us, we knew that calling the council would result in investigations, reports, and eventually strongly worded diplomatic protests. The pirates would be told to stop, and they would agree, and then they would attack someone else." Councillor Vextai's expression showed he understood exactly what Talver meant. "But humans," Talver continued, "humans respond when innocent life is threatened. They do not ask about trade agreements or diplomatic status. They do not calculate the political cost of action. They hear that someone needs help, and they come." Captain Torres nodded. "Councillor, the human response was proportional to the threat. The threat was not just to the Quillan convoy. The threat was to the principle that civilians should be able to travel safely without fear of being murdered by pirates. By eliminating the Crimson Fleet completely," Dr. Vasquez added, "we have ensured that those specific pirates will never threaten anyone again. Other pirate groups in this region will think very carefully before attacking civilians." Zephyr's gas forms swirled with what might have been agitation. "But the precedent this sets. What happens when humans decide that other groups pose similar threats? Chief Talver smiled, an expression that was somehow both gentle and intimidating on his alien features. Then perhaps those groups should stop threatening innocent civilians. The council representatives left shortly after, filing their reports and recommendations. Most of the galaxy would read about the incident in routine diplomatic communications, noting that a pirate group had been eliminated by human forces and that trade routes in the region were now safer, but in the darker corners of space stations and trading posts, among smugglers and pirates and raiders, a different story spread. A story about what happened when you hurt innocents and the humans heard about it. A story about over 100 human ships appearing out of nowhere to hunt down every single member of a pirate fleet. The galaxy already whispered about humans, but now those whispers carried a new understanding. Humans were not just willing to help when innocents were threatened. They were capable of tracking down threats across vast distances and eliminating them completely, as the human fleet dispersed. Returning to their normal duties, Chief Talver stood in the observation deck of the Mercy watching the ships depart. Dr. Vasquez joined him at the window. "What will you do now?" she asked. "Return to our people and tell them what we have seen. The galaxy is a dangerous place, but is less dangerous now because humans exist in it. And if you need help again?" Talver's large eyes reflected the light of the departing human ships. "We know who to call." In the vastness of space, the word was already spreading. The Crimson Fleet was gone, eliminated to the last ship by humans who had traveled from across their territory to answer an alien distress call. The message was clear to anyone with the wisdom to understand it. Hurt innocence and humanity comes. All of humanity. And they do not stop until justice is served. The galaxy whispered about humans for many reasons, but now there was a new whisper. When the darkness comes for you, call the humans. They will answer. They will come. And they will not let the darkness win.